Today, in this video, we are going to talk about, with all Lamar has accomplished in the NFL, has he earned a gold jacket already? How is this Ravens roster viewed outside of the organization compared to the rest of the NFL? And Zay Flowers has not forgotten highs and the lows of last season. All this and more coming up. So recently on the show Speak, they were talking about how badly does Lamar Jackson need a Super Bowl? And a lot of them said he needs it extremely bad. They were talking about how former two-time MVPs all have Super Bowls, and within the next 7 to 8 years, all of the 10 are going to be in the Hall of Fame. So my question that I bring to you all is, has Lamar Jackson done enough currently, right now, his resume, his totality of work throughout the NFL, does he deserve a gold jacket if he were to retire tomorrow? Now, there are not that many two-time MVPs in the league, and there's only 2 unanimous MVPs, with Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady being the other. So to kind of fill out his resume, to kind of put that stamp of approval on it, does Lamar Jackson need to win a Super Bowl? And how badly does he need to win a title to validate him being one of the NFL's best? To me, I think he's already a Hall of Famer. The things that he has done, the records that he has broken, and he still has time to grow. He is only going into his 7th year, and to some on this show, they said this is why Lamar needs to badly, sorely needs to win a championship really soon, because arguably last season's roster may have been one of the best rosters that Lamar Jackson has been a part of, and unfortunately they fell short. So with this roster coming up this next season being a little bit worse, a slight worse, on paper at least, is Lamar Jackson still in contention to win a Super Bowl? And with this roster progressively getting worse and worse and worse, is his sense of urgency ramping up? Was last season the best shot for the Baltimore Ravens to make it to a Super Bowl? Can't hold you, I don't really know. I think that with Lamar Jackson being a quarterback, anything's possible, and the Ravens are always going to be in contention to make the playoffs. So if you're in the playoffs, you're possibly in contention to make the Super Bowl. But he is the only quarterback on this list that has not won a championship thus far. He still has a little bit of time, and as you listen to this video, they'll explain to you, like, he still has time.
I think Lamar Jackson has a very interesting dialogue around him in sports. If you're pro Lamar Jackson, I think you go a little too easy on him. If you're anti Lamar Jackson, I think you go a little too hard on him. James, I try to be objective with Lamar Jackson. He has to win a Super Bowl. When you think about the quarterbacks that have 2 MVPs in the history of the National Football League, of those 10, I believe 7 of them are already in the Hall of Fame or going into the Hall of Fame as locked. So what that says is, Lamar Jackson, you're already a Hall of Fame. You haven't been to a Super Bowl. And I would suggest to say, you ain't been close. In my mind, Lamar so desperately has to get himself a Super Bowl, because the resume set, boy, you got 2 MVPs, 2 of them. I think you got to get a Super Bowl for Lamar.
Nothing else matters. We've seen unanimous MVPs. We've seen another MVP. We've seen you get to the AFC Championship. You throw for 30 touchdowns and rush for 1,000 yards and win another MVP and lose in the playoffs. It means nothing.
I think he needs one if we're going to look at him as more than just a great individual player. Team success puts you in a whole different category. You just listed the men who are already in the Hall of Fame, 2 of them who will absolutely be in the Hall of Fame, and Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, and then Lamar Jackson's name is there as well. But I do think it puts him in a whole different category, a whole different conversation if he also has a Super Bowl. And now, he's done a lot of things when it comes to team success as well. They are always in the playoffs. They have great regular season achievements. He has been to an AFC Championship game. But team success is how we measure the greatest of greats. First, you are individually talented. Then you put up statistics. Yeah, I'd like to see him get a championship, if for nothing else, just to close the conversation of how impactful he has been to this position in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he needs a championship bad. Talk about going to all pros and Pro Bowls, MVPs. It's time for a championship. Lamar seems like a player, man, because he never really complained. I felt like he never had the help to win anything, and he never made any excuses up.
But how they exclaim it, with the way that he plays, how much time does he necessarily have left? But then I think about it. They love speaking about history, and especially with one of the guys being a former Philadelphia Eagle. Look at what Michael Vick did. Vick was imprisoned for some time. He came back, and he did not have the speed that he once had. He wasn't athletically gifted as he once was, being that he was behind bars, and he wasn't working out. But what happened? Vick changed his game, and he was still a dynamic player. Even when he went to Pittsburgh, he was still a decent player, even though he changed his game. And I think that they tend to forget about these things. they tend to forget that just because you are a running quarterback, it doesn't mean that you cannot evolve. You can't revolutionize your game and change it into something else, as Michael Vick did it. And this is who Lamar Jackson is compared to the most. And we see Lamar progressing as a passer year after year. It's just about getting him the weapons that he needs to succeed. So is this his best last chance coming up to win a Super Bowl? I think not. But there is a statistic out there that quarterback head coach combos that don't win a championship within their first 5 years doesn't happen. Could Lamar Jackson be that one to break this trend? I think that he could, but we need that coaching aspect to kind of ramp it up a little bit, because that is the portion that is lacking. Not to say that Lamar's played his best come playoff time. Coaching, bad play, I don't know. But an argument can be made that for some reason the Ravens falter in the playoffs, and it is always the least points scored that season. Every year that we're ousted from the playoffs, that playoff game is the game that we score the least amount of points every season. So it's not like we're losing tight games. It's not like we're losing in a shootout. It is literally the games that season, with Lamar's MVP, the offense is number one, the offense is in the top 5, they don't score. And speaking of scoring, there was one score that was not made that would have put the Ravens up there to score more points and not have been their lowest output of the season. And that play came with the Zay Flowers fumble. And I'm not bringing it up to rehash old memories, to open any old wounds, but they were speaking with Zay Flowers, and he talked about how he is not going to forget what happened last season. He is actually going to use this as motivation for the upcoming season. A lot of people were down on Zay Flowers. A lot of fans kind of turned on him a little bit. I'm not understanding that. If you think about it, he was a rookie in his second playoff game, in the AFC title game, a rookie. And I'm pretty sure along with everything else that went on, he was starting to hit that rookie wall, because he had not played that many games in college. College players just don't do these things. But that's not to make an excuse for him. That's not to take away from anything. But he did have 115 yards and a touchdown, leading the team by far. And that one costly mistake stopped the game from being tied. It's not like it was to win the game. Listen, you have to give props to LeJarris Sneed. That was an outstanding play. As much as you want to blame Zay, outstanding play. But Zay has vowed to learn from past experiences. Sometimes when it comes to a little bit of adversity, some people, it builds them up and makes them stronger. Some people, it breaks them. We shall see going forward what happens with Zay Flowers. But I can almost guarantee you that next playoff season, Zay Flowers is not going to get a 15-yard taunting penalty, because I do think that he realizes how much that hurt the team outside of that fumble. Things may be a little bit different, because if we'd have been a little bit closer, he may not have had to run as far, and the defense may have played a little bit differently. We could have scored. So I think that he is going to learn from his mistakes. He says, listen, he knows that he is young, but he wants to be a leader inside of the wide receiver room, because they have a bunch of wide receivers that are young collectively, that don't have tons of experience. Now, Nelson Aguilar may be the one with the most experience in that room, and that's not a lot. So for the young guy to come in and say, hey, I want to be a leader, I want to be held accountable for my actions last season, even though he balled out in this game, let's not get it twisted. Hopefully he learns from this. Hopefully he becomes that number one, and Rashad Bateman follows suit. Follow my lead and I'm gonna get you there. I think Ray Lewis used to say that all the time. So hopefully Rashad can follow in these footsteps, and the Ravens can have somewhat of a 1-2 punch going into the upcoming season. And speaking of the title game loss, they spoke with offensive coordinator Todd Monken after practice, and they asked him a couple of questions. They asked him about the AFC title game loss, and then they talked to him about having Derrick Henry on the team. Now, when it comes to the AFC title game loss, he was like, you know what? We just didn't run the ball. We just didn't get the job done. Whatever the situation was, we dropped the ball. Then he mentioned turnovers and other things like that. But listen, let's focus on you and what you didn't do. You're the offensive coordinator. Let's not talk about what other people did. Let's talk about what you didn't do. And what you didn't do is call a well enough game plan. So hopefully he can learn from this. Hopefully he can do better. We don't know. But the one thing that struck me was he said he wasn't trying to justify anything, but he does not regret not running the ball as much. And this is the thing that's like, is anybody home? Is anybody there? You don't regret it. Now, his reasoning for this was because, hey, we were still in the game. Sans that fumble, the game would have been tied. But the thing that's telling me is, hey, you never led in this game, not once. So just being in it, that's not good enough for me. And I think that's the mentality of this coaching staff that kind of drags us down during playoff times. We were in the game. Give up about being in a game. I want you to win a game. This is the same team that a week before that got drugged up and down the field by Buffalo on the ground. They were not good defensively against the run. And you decided that, hey, this is keeping us close enough So we're going to stick with this just because we're in arm's length. Like, I can almost reach out and touch you. So this is good enough for me. And I think this is one of the problems that we have with some of the staff that John Harbaugh hires, especially offensively. We don't need the close enough. We don't need the almost. We're there. We're in striking distance, because come playoff time, we know when we're in striking distance, we're really not. So for him to have no regrets of it, yes, you should have regrets. You should regret not running the ball against a porous run defense. Granted, Lamar had 272 yards passing, but it wasn't enough. And then people are going to say, but hey, we get them first week of the season. Cool. And at first I was amped. I was hyped. I'm like, yo, I want the Chiefs first week. I want to see where we stand up. I want to see how things pan out. But as I'm thinking about it and listening to Todd Monken talk and watching the analysts and everything, now I really don't care. Like, I couldn't care less now about the week 1 matchup versus the Chiefs. If the Chiefs win, they're supposed to win. What else can you say? But if the Ravens win, what is that really telling us? And I think that this is the mirage. This is the facade that kind of plagues us a little bit as a team, because if we go out there and we run the ball down their throats with Derrick Henry, or even if Lamar passes the ball and we just do everything, we just control the game from top to bottom and the Ravens win, we are going to become overly confident. But that's not the problem. The problem for this team has not been the regular season. And then it hit me like, yo, this is a regular season game. We're going to do any and everything we need to do to win this game. And that's what we do during the regular season. We compile wins. Like, it just happens. This tells us nothing for the postseason, because we play a totally different way. So no matter what we do against the Chiefs, is this going to be the same thing? Are we going to continue to do that? Are we going to look at this game and say, hey, we got the Chiefs in the AFC title game in 2024. This is the blueprint to beat them, because this is how we beat them early in the season. Tweak it a little bit, but this is how we beat them. Or are we going to go back to the same, we don't have to run the ball, let's just throw it all over the place? They're not expecting this. So this, to me, is why this first game might be a lose-lose situation. We're not going to learn much of anything, because I've said this year in and year out, couldn't care less about regular season success. Couldn't care less about what we do in regular season. It's playoff time what matters the most to me. The Ravens have gone long enough without winning the Super Bowl, especially with the roster that has been constructed. Especially, that is the most infuriating part to me, is that we have the talent. Understand, if we weren't talented enough, it just is what it is, because there are franchises, not enough talent. Get it, seen it, it's cool. But when you have this collection of talent, when you have a defense like the defense we had last season, and we lose on technicalities of we keep doing the same things that we've been doing to lose. Like, this is the blueprint to lose. And John Harbaugh just pulls it out every time we go to the playoffs like, but this is how we lose? Follow this. This is going to get us there. Straight to an L. So speaking to that, they spoke with Todd Monken about having Derrick Henry on the squad. And of course, he said, hey, last season, a lot of it had to do with what we had in the backfield. And we've been saying this for a while. They don't trust the running backs that they've had. This is why playoff time, they don't run, because they don't trust them. But Todd Monken kind of alluded to, listen, we got Derrick Henry in here. We're going to try to get him 300 touches this season and just let him be our workhorse and ride him to wherever this team is going to go. Pause. My thing is, do not overwork him, regardless of how he looks, how big he is, how durable he's been throughout his entire career. Let us not forget, don't run him into the ground. And then playoff time, it's like, he ain't got it, because you used him up. As of right now, the Ravens do not have a viable backup running back. Justice Hill's not it. I was there in the meeting. I was there in the room. I was there doing OTAs in the meeting, in the running back room. And they said, listen, guys, we need somebody to step up and be Derrick Henry's backup. Take some of the load off of him. Bear some of that weight. And I vividly remember sitting in that meeting, and I look around and I see Justice Hill go 1, 2, 3, not it. I'm like, what do you mean not it? He was like, you asked for a backup running back, right? Not it. And I'm like, here we go. So to me, the Ravens are in need of a backup running back. And right now, everyone is high on Keaton Mitchell. I'm high on Keaton Mitchell. We don't know when he's coming back. I know there have been a lot of reports and people saying, oh, bad news, Keaton Mitchell's not ready. It's not bad news. He's on schedule. So how is that bad news for him to be on schedule to return when he's supposed to return? But I digress. Another conversation for another day. He's not ready. We don't know when he's going to be ready. We don't know if he's going to be ready. So we need a viable solution. Rasheen Ali, he came. He's another infamous Ravens pick that we drafted injured. Another guy that we brought in here with a problem. So we don't know what's really going on with him. So that brings me back to, of course, bring back Dalvin Cook. A lot of people are going to say, well, but we bring back Dalvin Cook. He's washed. He might be. We don't know. But 1, he's going to be cheap. 2, he's going to be motivated. 3, a lot of people don't know last season, he entered the season coming off surgery. So he wasn't really himself. He still is the same gentleman that came off 4 consecutive 1,100-yard seasons. And I'm not saying that we're going to need him to come in here and get 1,100 yards, but I think that he would be a viable backup, somebody that we're not leaning on. Bring him back in. What does competition hurt? Why does competition hurt the Ravens flock so much. Like, why are there so many bruised egos when we say offensively, not defensively? Competition's always good defensively because y'all love that stuff. But offensively, why is it, oh, you're going to take touches away from? Well, in this instance, yes, I need touches to be taken away from Justice, no blocking Hill. Justice, Mr. Whiffles Hill. I need somebody to take carries away from him until we get Keaton back, until Rasheem gets up to speed, because he is a rookie. Don't know what we're going to get out of him. We need somebody else. And right now, the Ravens don't have a lot of money, nor do they have a lot of options. Granted, next week, June 1st cuts, but we don't know who's going to get cut. Let's get this team together. Let's get everything buttoned up now so we don't have any surprises. We don't have any needs. We know what we have going forward because injuries are part of this game and we don't know when they're going to happen. And we don't need someone getting injured. Now we have to go look for 2 people. So bring some people in here that you know. See what he has. If he doesn't have it, let him go because he's not going to get a bunch of guaranteed money right now. But yet and still, we can bring in Jamal Adams. We can bring in that defensive player that's, I don't know if he fits the scheme. I don't know if he has it anymore. But because he's defense, let's bring him in. Let's get him in here and see what he's got left in the tank. So why not do that for Dalvin Cook? And I think that will help immensely just in case Keaton and Rasheem aren't ready. And lastly, we're going to talk about how are the Ravens ranked when it comes to rosters throughout the National Football League. Now, CBS did a ranking of teams offensively and defensively and put these people into certain categories. And the Baltimore Ravens, of course, came into the top category. And that category consisted of 5 teams, which were the total package teams, which were the elite teams throughout the NFL that had it going on offensively and defensively. And this should be technically the 5 teams that are in the running to make the Super Bowl this year, minus one of them, because one of them, I don't know how they pulled this one out their tail. I see it, but I don't kind of see it. So let's jump into this list. First and foremost, they had in this list the Houston Texans. And I'm assuming that this didn't go in any order. The Houston Texans. Offensively and defensively, I can see it because they've added so many pieces to this team that can help them on both sides of the ball. Now, will inexperience be their downfall? Don't know, but I do understand why they are in this tier. Next up, you have the defending 2-time world champion Kansas City Chiefs. Enough said. Chiefs came to the playoffs last season and decided they wanted to bring their defense to the party for once. And their defense kind of led the way. Who knew? But understand why they're on this list. Next up is the Super Bowl runner-ups, San Francisco 49ers. Even with Dre Greenlaw going down offensively, defensively, the 49ers are one of the most talented teams in the NFL. And they have been for several seasons. They've added some pieces. They may lose some pieces, maybe. I don't know. But they're still one of the best. And over in the NFC, it's not a lot of competition. What do you have? You have maybe Dallas, Philadelphia. That's maybe Green Bay on the come up. Detroit, maybe. It's not too many people, but as far as talent goes, the 49ers have it in abundance. Now, this 4th team, the team that had me scratch my head at first, it's the New York Jets. I don't know if I would call them a total package team. I would say that they were up there because defensively, when it comes to teams to rival what the Ravens have going on defensively, I'll say the Jets have it. With injuries, without certain players, they can get after the ball. And some of the young guys are starting to step up. So defensively, they got it. Now, offensively is where they lose me a little bit. Understandable. You have Breece Hall, dynamic running back. You have Garrett Wilson. You added Mike Williams. Like, they have pieces. They've upgraded their offensive line. And most importantly, they do get Aaron Rodgers back. But the thing for me is the last time that we saw Aaron Rodgers before his 4-snap 2023 season, he didn't look too well in Green Bay. And you can't tell me he didn't have weapons in Green Bay because he did. He had an offensive line. He had a running back. He had weapons galore. And he led them to a playoff-less season. He didn't have one 300-yard game that year. And he looked out of sorts. So now you're telling me 2 seasons removed from that, coming off of an Achilles injury, now he's still going to be one of the elite, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league? I'm not seeing it. This is the New York Jets. This is the franchise that has the longest playoff drought in United States sports currently. And you think that Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if his ayahuasca or whatever drug he's taking, his drug of choice of the week, is going to help him out. But offensively, I'm not seeing the Jets and their league low 11 points per game average, which I'm sure Aaron Rodgers will bring that up. I don't see them being one of the top 5 teams in the league, especially not in the AFC. There are so many teams that would take that place. Now, depending upon how the Dolphins restock their defense, because we know offensively what they can do. Buffalo, with the right personnel moves and the draft hits, they could possibly replace the Jets. If the Steelers hit, they could. It's so many pieces, so many other ones, so many teams in the AFC. You could put Detroit and move them in the Jet spot. I would. So I have 5 teams that I would put inside that spot. But It's enough about them. It's about the Ravens. This is about the Ravens being one of the top 5 teams offensively and defensively in the league with a shot to win the Super Bowl. And as I've stated earlier in this video, if you have Lamar Jackson on this team, you are always in contention. But the biggest question for us is what's going to happen with Mike McDonald moving on to Seattle and Zach Orr coming in and implementing his defense. The Ravens still have Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, Justin Madubuike, Brandon Stevens. They still have a lot of key components to this defense. But how is it going to mesh? Are they going to have a magical season like they had last year? Probably not, but they'll still be as high. The question really is, can the Baltimore Ravens keep that level of consistency offensively and defensively going? It's all they need. Consistency. Because over the last 6 years, let's say 5, because Lamar's been the starter for 5 full seasons. 5 full seasons. Let's say over those 5. Consistently, this offense with him has been doing their thing. Defensively, the Ravens have always been what the Ravens are, a defensive-minded team. So if they could just keep that high level of consistency throughout the playoffs, regular season, we're going to do our thing. Just playoff time. Just keep that level of consistency, and we should be all right. And you know what else is all right? Liking and subscribing. I think that's all right. Think you're allowed to do it. Don't tell anybody. It's cool. It's cool. Our secret. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you turn on that notification bell. Our secret. Let's do it. On the road to 5,000 subscribers. We're going to get this done quietly. Shh. But in all seriousness, I hope that you really do enjoy this content. I hope that I bring some sort of entertainment to your life. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to do nothing special. I'm not trying to do nothing off the wall. Just here to bring people entertainment. So if I'm doing that, all I ask in return is, hey, help me get on this algorithm. Help me further this channel. I'm trying to get to 10,000. Like, that is my goal. Once I hit 10,000, all bets are off. That is my goal. I'm lying. I'll say 10,000. The goal is 100,000. But once we get to 100,000 subs, if that's ever possible, then you know what? I'll be content. But until then, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep rocking out. We're going to keep building this community. We're slowly but surely growing. And some of you are coming to really see that, listen, this is more than just sports. This is more than just videos. This is a group. This is a family that we have here. And we're all connected. And we're all trying to help each other in one way or another outside of just football. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize. We love talking football. We love talking Baltimore Ravens with you guys, but it's larger than that. And I'm not getting on here to preach right now. Y'all done got me out here talking all this, because y'all know I'm not the preachy type. But once again, I'm just going to end it with appreciate everybody. Love y'all. Can't wait to see what the rest of this year brings for us. But until the next time, though, seriously, don't forget, never forget, it's your boy. And I'm